And here we are. Is this the last episode of Aegean Blue? Have we got it going? You're going to have to watch and find out. There's no spoilers at the beginning of this one. Right, so Posty's been busy. I've been off home to go and see my missus and come back to a huge pile of stuff, which is good news. I like it. So we've got the original pump here. So the pump is just a standard submersible. Good quality. The reason I've not replaced this thing, by the way, because some people have said they're only 35 quid plus VAT plus delivery. But the 35 quid plus VAT plus delivery are made to a cost, let's say. And this is an OE pump. And these things are generally quite, when these things work, they're quite good. So I'm actually inclined to hang on to the used old stock rather than venture into new reproduction stock territory. The new filter arrived. As you can see, new filter, old filter. In fact, there's quite a difference, isn't there? Now I'm going to try and burn this later on. We're going to see. It's going to go woof, I think, with all the rust in there. Right, okay, so we'll assemble this pump first of all. I've got it all together. I mean, basically what I ended up doing was kind of loosening the top pipe up here, pushing the pump down, pushing it into the black feet, which you can see are on the base of the pump there. Put these onto the base of the pump, or the base of the pump fitting before I kind of went in. Then it kind of managed to align things up and just pushed it home, and it clicked all together. Put the wires back on the inside there, so they're all back on. This pump's ready to go. What I'll do is next I need to slosh the fuel tank. So let me go and get the fuel tank, and we're going to slosh the fuel tank. Slosh, I've already done a product review on slosh. This stuff, so I don't need to do it again. If you go back through my channel or search slosh review against my channel, you'll see me doing this on the 1972 steel Range Rover tank, custom built tank that I had. And yeah, I was very impressed with the results. And that's why I wanted to use it on this tank. That's a box for the new fuel filter there. I wanted to use it on this tank because it's going to prevent this thing from furring up with rust again, or at least slow it down. Now we know that the LPG was put in like 18 years ago. So there's a fair chance that it's 18 years worth of a crud inside that tank that's caused it to basically to fail. Right, I'm going to go and get the tank. Perhaps we'll kind of speed that through. I don't know. We'll do something. Already, as I've been sloshing back and forth, I've dug all of the silicon out of here. There was tons of it. I don't know. Anyway, I've dug all the slosh out of the... Sorry, I've sloshed it around inside. You can see here already that there's a leak at the bottom of this groove here, which explains where the leak is coming from on the tank. Now, I don't think it's a particularly large leak, because when I had it upside down, it wasn't really just pouring out. But obviously, when the tank is full and under pressure, then it's not a huge amount of pressure, it's kind of atmospheric pressure, then it's going to dribble out of that. Right, let me get back on with this sloshing. I've sloshed it in and out of the pipes here into the bucket and then poured it back in again. I think it'll be ready for a good clean in a minute. Aegean Blue D-Day. Tank's in, all connected up, new fuel filter up here. Just about to bung the fuel back in again. And then we can test him on petrol, make sure he starts up. Everything seems to be connected up. Yes, everything's connected, so just checking all the coil connections and so forth. We've got the coolant levels down at the moment because I've had the heater hoses off at the back here, so I can access the regulator and also the high pressure line, which I probably just need to check is tight, and that also the return pipe is on. I'll just go through and check all the connections before I put any ignition on, but yeah, we should be all right. Well, we're certainly getting fuel pressure now. I just put some tissue underneath the fuel line and cracked it off half a turn, and it went, so I nipped it back up again. So we're getting fuel pressure now. Fuel pressure in the fuel rail. We've got a weak spark again. I don't understand it. So with the amplified ignition set up on this thing, spark which is indicated by the bolt there, should jump 6mm, which when this thing's in the middle here, I kind of set up a little bit of paper. It's disappeared now, it's probably fallen into the engine somewhere, but fallen onto the engine, I should repeat. That spark is going about 2 or 3mm tops. That's as far as it's jumping, and for one of these ignition circuits, that's way too low. Okay, we've got 3 ignition amplifiers. That's the one that came off the car. That's one I had in my spare stash that I'd never actually got around to testing. It turned up on a distributor that I stripped down, and that's the one we bought. So what I basically do, got jump lead going to negative. I've got the positive terminal from the volmeter going to the positive terminal. Sorry, hickety uppity. So we'll try the one that came off the car first of all. So pause, because I can't do it one-handed. So I clamp him in there to make sure he's got a nice earth, and then I connect on, and I'm getting 7.9-ish volts. That was no good. Pause, go for the next one. Mr. Gravity, it's been a while. Right, so now we've got the next one. This is one that I bought with a second-hand distributor, and I just lobbed it in a box to see if it was going to work. So we'll connect it onto the coil terminal on here. You're getting battery voltage straight through it. Okay, that's the battery feed. So you'd expect 12 volts to go to that, but this should not have 12 volts. It has. Right, now we'll check the last one now, which is the brand spanking new one. Pause. So here's the brand spanking new one. Distributor doctor, voltage 0, positive on there. We'll touch the terminal. I'll have to hold it on there. .6 volts, 0.06 volts, 0.07 volts. So that would appear to be okay. Now, why will we getting voltage back through it when we test it? So let's mount this back onto the distributor and then retest by earthing the distributor body. Here we go. Right, so the brand spanking new ignition amplifier is now bolted back to the distributor, nice and tight. We've got earth, and we've also got a slave earth running off there, going straight to the earth terminal. We've got the distributor body earthed as well. So we're earth. Positive terminal on the battery, negative terminal to the coil feed, 0.1 volts. I don't know. I'm fucking baffled now. Because that was reading 12. I shall reinstall, and I shall bypass the wire to the coil. Right, here we go. So we're all connected up, and we're getting a reasonable spark, but you see cranking speed. That's pretty good. It's going over a centimetre. And the faster I crank, the faster it goes. Right, so that's off the king lead. Don't panic, this is L95, this isn't the customer's car. Right, so what I've done is got the laptop out here, got the Rover Gauge app running with the cable that I've got. I'll do a proper review on this software and this app. Bloody brilliant though, because it tells you what's kind of going on. The main box down here is fuel mapping, that's all ECU controlled. Then around here we've got idle bypass, throttle position, MAF, airflow sensor, lambdas, what they're doing, injectors duty cycle, but we've got things like engine temperatures, road speed, engine RPM, which is interesting because the tacho is miles out. So tacho is telling me I'm doing less than 300 RPM. I'm doing 716. Fuel temperature, now when I go up to the top here and I go to show fault codes, it does actually say the fuel temp sensor is out of range. I did have a little gander at that just now. That's the airflow meter up there. Fuel temp sensor is here, and when we pull him off, but if we can get him off one-handed. Cable's broken, so I need to, for some reason, there's only one cable in there. I don't know where the other cable's gone, So that's why that's not working. So I need to fix that. That basically helps the mixture in extreme temperatures. We're not extreme temperatures today, we're 4 degrees. Right, so I can clear the code, but it just comes straight back up again. All these codes, by the way, it just lists all of the codes and it only highlights the ones where you've got a failure. So the rest of them are all okay. Alright, that's good news, isn't it? No point me clearing the codes because it's just going to come straight back again because we know the cable's broken. Right, next thing I was going to do really, because we started to warm up, temperature gauge as well is telling me I'm starting to warm up, and we're seeing the temperature on the engine is getting up towards 75 degrees, which is about when the thermostat will open. Then I shall switch off and we'll start trying various components off the customer's car, off Paul's car, David's car. Fuck you, going up. Start trying the components off the car onto this one, because we've got this one as a known runner. Okay. RPM limit 5,403. Never knew that. Never been up there. Right, okay, let's get on with this. So first and foremost, we'll do the slippery mud. We'll do the airflow meter first of all, because I just want to check that the airflow meter is actually behaving. So we'll disconnect, disconnect. My airflow meter can come right off. You can see my nice repaired airflow pipe here, which is working. Didn't detect excessive influx of air or air leak. Right, I might need 2 hands to do this, so let me get back to you once this is all plugged in, and we'll start up again. Right, so it's plugged in. Let's go and see what we're doing now. Right. Well, it took longer to start up then. We were on fuel map 5 before. It's all over the place, isn't it? This airflow meter, it has issues. But it's working. The engine starts. It's not quite as stable on idle as it was. With my airflow meter running. Let's see the idle up here. It's less stable. Lumpy. It wasn't doing that with mine. So the airflow meter, I'm not touching the throttle at the moment, so the throttle is really exactly where it should be. So we might need to just give the airflow meter a good old clean out. That's one. Right, let's go and get the coil off the other car now. Before we did that, I thought I'd just quickly check up on the customer's ECU. It's got a different fueling pattern. Oh no, it says. So this is customer's ECU, my airflow meter. Airflow meter is still dancing around a bit though, but the idle's much smoother. Oh, we say that. Feels much smoother. Maybe the air filter's bunged up on the other one. Just see if we've got any codes coming off this ECU. No, just the same one again. Right, coil's fitted. Let's give it a go. Uh-oh. I'm not going to fucking flood it. Just check the connections on it. Oh, customer's coil fitted. I got white and black and the feed that goes off, and then we've got the positive feed here going onto the white terminal. It's not the best connection onto there. Yes it is, it's alright, that's going well. Oh, hang on a second, should I put the HT lead on it? Right, again with the HT lead plugged in. Dickhead. That's a fucking immobiliser thing. Oh, there you go. Ba-dip-a-dip, ba-dip-a-dip. Right, so coil's working. What next? I've just noticed something else on this thing. Where's my torch? Torchy with torch face, there you are. So down here we've got the this is the tensioner idler wheel that we've got for the fan belt. It's got the wrong one on it. Or it's the wrong way around. It's the wrong way around. No, it can't be the wrong way around. They can't turn them around, they're not directional. So basically what they've done is they've put the, well, they've got a spare one of these, which is the air conditioning tensioner, and they put it on for this one down here, which means that A, you can't tighten it up properly, and B, you can see it's been touching the belt, which is why this belt has got scag marks on it. I love bodges, you gotta love them. Someone's ordered the wrong part there. I'll see if I can get another one. Well, it's actually so bad I can't get the nut undone to get the belt off because it's scagged on the alternator belt. I can't get in there to do it, so I'm going to have to take, well, I think what I'll do is I'll take off the water pump pulley and I can take the water pump belt off. What a fucking bodge! You gotta love the level of ham-fisted gibbonry that goes on with these things sometimes. So basically this is the aircon pulley. Goes on like that, and you can attach the bolt from that side, and it's got a thread on this end, it's got a bolt that end. And what they've basically done is that because they put the wrong one on, and you can see here, this has got to be the wrong one because the bolt's on the wrong side of it. Where are we? Down here. The bolt's on the wrong side. Yeah, you can't tighten it up because it bolt touches the pulley. So that, I don't even know how they got the bleeding thing on, in all honesty. Then I got the alternator belt off, which is damaged, but to be honest, it's no great loss. I'm pretty sure that I'll have one of these in the unit, because I tend to change, when one belt starts squeaky on my car, I tend to change the lot at the same time, but that's rubbish. So that needs changing. And then the belt for the water pump, I've left the pulley in here, is not much better. So whichever Gibbon did this, they did it a very long time ago, because these belts, they last, I don't know, 10,000 miles or so. This car hasn't done anything like that in years. Right, so what we were doing here is we were going to pull the distributor out again, but I just wanted to kind of get those belts off because I saw that they were wrong. It's just, oh my goodness. That belt's loose as well. Look how loose this is. So this is a power steering belt. Now the other thing that arrived today is I sniped a dirt cheap used distributor off eBay, but I'm not entirely sure how fucking useful this thing's going to be because the physical advance is locked up solid on it. This is one abused distributor. Vacuum advance is alright on it. I mean, look at the state of that. That has been... That's not good, is it? Right, we'll see if we can get the rotor off. It looks like someone's given it a good go before. If I can get a signal out of it, then it's something at least we can use as a test rig. I'll lube up the top end as well. We'll see if we can get the bob weights working. But it's the right spec. It's a 35 DLM8 EFI fuel pressure check. So warning, under normal operating conditions, the fuel pressure system is pressurized to a high pressure by a high pressure fuel pump, operating at 2.3 to 2.5 bar. Okay, engine stationary, blah 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 blah. So connect the pressure gauge, blah 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 blah, turn on ignition, expecting reading. So kilograms force per centimetre squared is more or less bar. It's a little bit lower than bar. So what we're looking for is 2.4 to 2.6 bar with a drop of 0.6, 0.7 bar per minute. So let's check that again. The battery needs to go on. Now I've got the figures. It'll be helpful, wouldn't it? Hey? Let's connect up the fuel pump again. Fuel pump is connected. Right, now let's have a look. A looky, we had the pump running. I've turned it off now, but it was running at 2.5 bar. And in the minute since I've got, it's dropped down to 2. And it's supposed to drop about half a bar a minute, as we found out already. I think the pump is healthy. So the next thing I was going to look at, I was going to go back over the ignition. Checking the distributor on one of these Rover V8s. So first and foremost, I've got the second-hand distributor I bought. I've wired it into the loom. I've earthed it to the battery as if it's part of the car loom. And I put my little tester jobby here, set it to 1 centimetre because that's pretty much all it normally needs. And wired the device is going straight off the king lead. So that's connected to the king lead off the coil. So we're not using the distributor cap or anything that is in there at the moment. Fucking look at that spark. I mean, that is a big old spark there. You can hear it. Yep, happy with that. That's off this distributor. I'll baseline it against the other one in a second. I'll take the other one back out again because the view is I'll put this one back in. We'll see if this one runs the car any better than the one that's in it. Okay, but look at that. That is a nice big healthy spark. Right, the next thing you do. So we tested test 1, and it just saves us having to crank the engine over by turning the distributor. It's all you're doing is doing the same thing, cranking the engine. Ignition's on. There we go. Nice big spark. Right, next thing we do is check the low tension voltage. So we know already that we're getting a spark. So I'm not anticipating anything particularly nasty. Okay, so we pulled the customer's distributor out of the engine. It's this one here. That's the customer's one. That's the cheaper one I bought. Right, now let's see first of all the ignition test. We're not getting anywhere near the spark of this thing at all. I think we just have a root cause here. What I need to be sure of is that it's not the ignition amplifier that's failed again. So let's see what spark we are getting off this thing. We wind this back into kind of one. Oops, it's alive. Pause. So it's working one-handed shit. Right, okay, now let's. Yeah, we're getting a spark, but it's nowhere near as. Actually, hear it inside the coil as well. That's nowhere near as nice, is it? Okay. Test 1 failed then already. Well, let's put this distributor in and see if it starts the car up. There's no reason why it won't work. I'm not going to waste too much more time on this one. If this one does start the car up, then what we'll need to do is work out what is wrong with this one. It's probably going to be the easiest way of testing this thing moving forward. So in order to do this thing, we're going to have to crank the engine back over to top dead centre, and then I'll go through how to put the distributor back into the engine. Okay, been cranking the engine over clockwise, got it to the top dead centre mark. It's not quite, it's actually the before top dead centre mark, but it gives me enough room to play in. Stuck my finger into cylinder plug hole number 1, all the plugs are out at the moment. Stuck my finger in there, and now I need to make sure that this oil pump drive goes at the 9:30 on the, if you imagine an hour hand, when I look in like this, that thing needs to be pointing at about 9:30. And this is where I use my trusty little oil pump prime tool. It's very useful for this kind of stuff. Rotate it around. You can use, I think, something like a 12mm socket on an extension bar will also fit. Ideally if it's 6-sided. So if you've got a 6-sided 12mm socket, I do think that goes over it as well. And it allows you to rotate it. So don't panic about getting an oil pump drive if you have to reset your oil pump position. Right, so let me rotate that. This engine does look quite clean inside, you know. There you can see. Can you see? You can't see. Let me just get the camera in a better position here. Get the torch over the top. You can see the drive there, the skew gear off the front of the camshaft. So that's the extension gear that you put on there. It's looking quite clean in there though. Nice. Right, okay. So before I put the distributor in, I need to adjust that gear, and then the other thing I need to do with the distributor is I will need to work out where number 2 firing position is, and I know, sorry, number 2, because I'm thinking about stags. Number 1 is around that sort of position. This is the easiest way of describing it. So you've got plug number 1, so that pole there, that's plug number 1. Pole there, you can see where it goes down, and you can see roughly where it hits the distributor body. It is about halfway between that screw and the clip. Okay, and because we're before top dead center, I'm expecting the rotor to be pointing nearer the screw than the clip. So let's pop that over there. So first and foremost, we need to have roughly in the right sort of position, and then we need to rotate it back about that much. Okay, so when you're putting this thing in and it's in the right sort of position, generally start where the insulated plate is for the ignition module, the pickup module. Okay, so that's roughly, and I leave the rotor on at this point because it's a lot easier to see what's going on when you're putting it in, and you know that the rotor, when it goes in and it engages, you know the rotor's in the right place, because when this thing's in at the 6 or whatever it is, 7 degrees before top dead center that I've currently got the crank to, I want the rotor to be somewhere around there. Okay, and it goes in that way round. Okay, so when I drop it in like that, I want that rotor to be there. If it's here, it's too far. If it's there, it's too far. It's got to be kind of, it needs to be pointing it just before the pole for cylinder number 1. First attempt, more or less exactly like that. So the rotor is pointing nearer the screw. And if I crank the engine to top dead center, I'd expect the rotor tip to be absolutely halfway between the clip there and the screw, and that then is the firing position for number 1. Now what I tend to do is when I'm putting this thing in is I have the ignition advance module kind of is equidistant between the edge of the water pump and the stub for the top hose. You can see you can move it backwards and forwards a certain amount there. Okay, so that's just, if it sits halfway between the two, you're not going to be that far out. We're all plugged back in again. Let's see what happens. Fingers crossed. I don't know what that noise is. Probably the distributor, but it fucking goes. Instant. So we've got a problem with this distributor out of the customer's car. I'm going to have to work out what that is. What the fuck? I don't know what the noise was. Probably the distributor, because that's the only thing I've really just put in. Okay, right, next I'm going to get the LPG put back on, get the hoses put back on. We're done with the top end of this engine. And then I can, because I need to really get it back together again. I phoned the customer up, he's delighted as I am. The fucking thing's unhaunted. How is it that you have misbehaved so badly? I'm going to find out. Root cause will be coming. Right, onto these things now. These things are available new at 100 quid. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take the bolt out, drill it out, because this is, unfortunately, it's one for the aircon. So either someone's ordered the wrong one, or is that one in better shape? Well, whatever I'm going to do, whichever one I use, I'm going to take the bolt out, drill it right through, and just use a nut and bolt on it and pinch it. That's the only way I can get this to work. And then I can get the fan belt on. Once the fan belt's on, then I can start pissing around with getting the cooling system filled up and warm this thing up properly. Right, I'm going to set up nicely. This air filter does not make some noise. Well, that makes a lot of noise, doesn't it? But anyway, it's working. Got the timing set up roughly. Still the old distributor, still haven't worked on the customer's one yet. I just wanted to warm this thing through and check it's actually working. I mean, bear in mind that there's no throttle position sensor on it, but it is starting and it's running. No fan on at the moment, but I've got the fan belt, so we'll be using the cooling system. Really just getting it up to pressure and making sure it's working. And we'll do a post-analysis of what was actually wrong with this bastard. Sorry, with this lovely car later on. The wheel's off still because I need to get my pressure gauge off, so let's have a look and see what the pressure gauge is actually doing. Yeah, it's running at about 2.5 bar, which is good news. So fuel pressure is working beautifully, but this thing needs to warm up. Really. Running nicely. Yeah, that's not going to help with these. That's why I want to warm it up, you see, get the cats dried through. It's running quite straighty though. Check see what the ignition timing is. Oh, it's moved a little bit. Distributor's not tight yet, that's why. Let it warm up. Alright, okay, probably flick across to LPG now. Let's yeah, it's running on LPG as well. It's not running very well on LPG. Alright, why is it not running very well on LPG? Pipes are hot. Maybe I need to check, or maybe we've got an earth down here that's missing or something. I'll double check. I mean, the fact it's running on petrol is good. LPG will work. And a very, very, very slight misfire I can feel. Very slight. I'll push all the leads back on again. Ignition timing stayed where it was. Sometimes, I mean, just a case of, like I say, fiddling around with the distributor, you can get that sweet spot. It's about right. It's warmed up and he's put all the ECU and everything back together again, but I'm not going to do that until I know that this engine's warmed up, which it kind of is. There's no fan to worry about at the moment. Top hose isn't opened yet. It is really, isn't it? Stick this video up. Woohoo! Last of things working. Then we're going to go through an analysis video after this one to let you chaps know exactly what I've learned from this exercise and how you might avoid some of the debacle that I've been through. Idle speed's a little bit on the high side, but again, distributor's not working properly because I know the advance is all chewed up on it. I put the vacuum advance on it. And there's no throttle position sensor either, so it's not running ideally, and this is probably why the idle speed's a little bit on the high side. I'm not going to fret about that, to be honest. What's the exhaust looking like? Yeah, that's clean. Nice and clean, eh? Sweet. Nice healthy burble, that. Well, I think what we're going to do now is we're going to reassemble the ECU and get that put back under the seat and put the driver's seat back down again, and then we're finished on the interior.